we thought that it's like together with the Whiteboard launch, we can also improve the overall diagramming experience in Goodnotes for quite a bit, right?
Yeah. And when we tried to build this, we couldn't just build it from static tools, because how do you build a diagramming experience that felt native to stylus? When you see other competitors, other apps on the market, most of them are optimized for mouse and pointer devices. There's no other apps which are very well optimized for stylus first experience. So we couldn't again do this with a static tool like Figma or Sketch, because how do we make sure, how do we figure out the gestures, how do we feel how the haptics works? So what we did was we went out of Goodnotes, we built a prototype outside Goodnotes so that we can rapidly prototype and test few different interactions and gestures so that we can get it right.
Yeah, can you actually show the prototype? I think we still have it as a working version.
Yeah, we have it here. Let me show. So you can see this doesn't look like Goodnotes or feel like Goodnotes because this is completely out of Goodnotes. So you can see you can draw a rectangle, you can draw a circle, and then you can connect the dots, connect both objects. And what you didn't see is that when I connected these two different objects, I felt a small haptic in my pencil. And then also when you hover over, you can see there's a nice hover gesture to see where you can add a new dot and then bend the lines. And then you can tap and hold to remove a dot. And not only that, we also explored when you move a shape, it just intuitively moves to the right way, so the line stays aesthetically pleasing. So it doesn't always come from the same side. There's an option where we tried, it moves to give the perfect curvature and then perfect connection between these two objects. So again, what you see is we didn't prototype everything in Goodnotes. We went out of the demo app for us to quickly, rapidly prototype.
Yeah. And we decided to test this prototype actually in person in our London office. So we invited a bunch of like Goodnotes users that typically use the Shapes tool and diagramming and wanted to kind of dive deeper with them. And throughout this in-person testing, we observed many different ways of how people go about diagramming. So for example, some people draw like 10 shapes, 10 rectangles, then like connect them all and then start adding content. Some other folks just do it node by node. So they create a rectangle, add content, create a connector, go to the next node, and so on. So this was eye-opening that it's like very, very subjective and unique, and we need to tailor an experience that kind of supports various types of user behaviors there. So you conducted most of those in-person sessions, Anujan, right? So can you share any interesting insights that you remember about that?
Yeah, there was one interesting insight where what we anticipated, what we assumed is people always draw a rectangle or draw a shape and then write within that. But when we did the in-person testing, what we realized is there's also a different workflow where people just write first and then draw a shape or an object around it so to enclose it. And we didn't anticipate and we didn't build for this. So these are the things that we learned through these testing sessions, and we are exploring different ways to add that. And
exactly. And like we use the prototyping phase to kind of figure out what's really essential, what's really important, what we should prioritize, and what are other things that we can potentially postpone. So using that as the input, we decided to actually create like new shapes tool inside of Goodnotes, and like we had to scope it down. We couldn't implement like every single thing that we observed during the prototyping and user research phase. And this is what you will see in the actual beta app. So Anujan, can you show the current working version and like what are the essential features of new diagramming and shapes tool?
Yeah. So we built the shapes tool from the ground up to support diagramming. So you can see here, there's some quick and easy way to draw a rectangle, circle, or a diamond, and you can, let me zoom in. So now the new shapes allows you to have content inside it. So when you draw a rectangle and then you add a sticker inside it, what happens is the sticker gets attached to a shape. So when you move the shape around the sticker or any strokes, even if you write a stroke, it just everything gets snapped to each other, and then you can just move the shapes around and everything inside will move together. And then you can draw another shape and then draw a connection line. And then when you move the shape, the connection lines moves to keep them connected. And as you can see, we don't have everything here. Everything that you saw in the prototype is not here. But what we added is the ability to type text inside. So you can just say, and you can just not only just freeform content, we can also have structured typed content inside shapes. So anything to add?
We also identified a lot of minor delighters and minor polishments during the prototyping phase that we haven't implemented yet, but this is like on our backlog. This will hopefully soon arrive to the application. But like we identified that the ability to attach things, including your handwriting, including your ink to shapes, as well as to provide the natural ability to type text inside of the shapes, that's really important. So we focused on those essentials first.